Resilience, tenacity, grit, perseverance, fortitude, whatever you call that word, it's a vital ingredient to your career success and, quite frankly, your well being. Sometimes it's the defining thing between whether you're going to win or lose in that moment. So it's vital to develop that skill and understand how you can keep resilience up. Hiya, you're spending time with me, Honor, and Elena. We are building a community of Black people working in projects to share the realness about what it takes to build a successful career in projects. There is absolutely no gatekeeping allowed here. So, we want to share with you today 4 key tips on how we build resilience and how we keep it up to make sure that we are successful in what we're doing. Elena.
Resilience, it's one of those things, isn't it? And I think it means maybe different things to different people. I think for me, it's about being able to keep on going on in the face of adversity, the face of fear. Maybe something else has gone wrong, but you still need to keep on going. So it's looking at, well, how do we do that? And I think one of the key things is we've got to learn to be kind to ourselves, because the ability to be able to keep on is a lot about self-talk. And what we tend to do sometimes when we're faced with a hardship or something we don't quite like that's going on, that's when the inner critic comes in, when we start to hear ourselves speak those negative things to ourselves, and or where we start to question ourselves to say, can we keep going, or is it something I've done wrong? We need to put all of that to the side and be kind to ourselves with regards to whatever's happened. We can get over this, but also just to start with a positive self-talk, because if you're going to talk to yourself, why not let it be positive rather than negative? So it's important that we have that positive mindset, that we don't mind read, because that's one of the other things that can trip us up. What is everybody else thinking about this situation, or how I've handled this situation? If you're a really good mind reader, I would use those skills to win the lottery. I wouldn't do it to, think about what other people may or may not think. So be kind to ourselves. We don't know what other people are thinking. Let's concentrate on us and our power to move forward. What about yourself, Anna?
That is a really good one. Before I move on to the next tip, I just wanted to say that I had someone talking to me about, they went for a job, they didn't get the job. It was an internal job, they didn't get it, and they felt like they couldn't go to the break room anymore because people will be talking about how they didn't get the job, and it was making them feel really, really down. So it's a solid point what you've said, Elena, about you are not a mind reader. Those people, who knows what they thought, and most importantly, it doesn't matter what they were thinking.
No,
so
definitely. And when you delve into it, if they're in the break room, they're probably thinking about their tea, their coffee, what they put in the fridge. They're really not thinking about you. They've got other things going on in their lives.
Yeah, indeed. Now, tip number 2, and what Elena and I are talking about is things that we do to keep ourselves resilient. And so tip number 2 is set those boundaries. So being all things to all people, it is draining as heck. And when you are empty, when that thing happens, when you get that hit, you don't have the energy to push yourself through. So it's important to set boundaries. We're not saying to be no all the time, but it's important to understand that this is a time when I need to say no so that I can have enough left in my tank to do what I need to do. So don't shy away from saying no, or saying, I can do up to this part for you, but I can't do the rest of it. And this is where you have to draw your line in the sand to make sure that you're keeping enough energy for yourself. I think it's something that women have a big thing with, whether it's you, the sister, you, the daughter, you, the mum, you're doing all these things and these different roles. And then when it comes to you, you're tapped out. So it's very important. Draw that line.
Definitely. Like you say, with women, it takes development, I think, in order to learn to say no. And even then, we don't do it as often as we should. It's a really, really important skill to learn. If you say no, the world's not going to end. Somebody else will do it. Think lots of things do rely on yourself, but that's why you need to say no. So you say you've got the energy to carry out and do those things that are important, that we can't really afford to be burnt out because we need to be great. So saying no is really important, like you said.
What's the next thing, Alina?
So the next thing is tribe. Making sure you've got the people around you so that if for whatever reason you go into a negative spiral, you can't get yourself out, or sometimes it's just a case of listening to other people's point of view. You've got a team or a group of trusted people you can talk to about the situation, who may be able to help you to reframe it and to look at what the realities are of the situation and help you to look at different perspectives and to see it from a different point of view. But also those people to help to bring your energy levels back up as well. I think it's really important to have the right type of people around you, and it could be different people for different situations as well. But that's what we do a lot of, support and being there for each other, etc. It's important that you find those like-minded people.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, it could be different people for different situations, and lean into that. That when you talk to this person about this, they have a really good perspective about that particular thing, whereas this other person, this is their jam, and they can give you a good perspective on that. There's been a time when I was going for an interview. It was an internal role. I talked to my manager. Basically, it seemed like everything was aligned and yep, I was going to get it, blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't get it. And that bummed me hard, hard. And it's like, oh, why bother trying? Because then they were telling me that there's another role, I should apply for it. And it's like, why should I try? Why should I put myself out there? And this is resilience bottoming out. And now being able to talk to my person at that time to help me regain perspective, tap back into my resilience. And then I was able to apply for that other role and I got it. But if I hadn't been able to tap into that, I would have stayed in what my sister calls the sunken place. And then that would have been a missed opportunity.
And I think one of the things you just mentioned is important. So, as your sister described it, the sunken place. This isn't to say that through these trials and tribulations, we're not going to get to that sunken place. It's about being able to get yourself out and not being there for very long.
Yeah, exactly. So tip number 4 is about defining success. We are suffering from this comparison disease. And you achieve something, it's great. You look at the other person and you decide it's not good enough in comparison to this other person. And there you go. You start feeling, oh, what am I doing? Where am I going? Blah, blah. Stop doing that. You should define your success. What does success mean to you? Because Elena and I are ride or die partners, but we still have different definitions of success for ourselves as individuals. So, what's your definition of success? And when you want to change that definition of success, it should be because of what you want is changed. It's very much an internal thing, don't you think, Alina? Not because my cousin is doing this or my colleague at work is doing that. No, it should be about what you want, your goals, your desires, your wants. That's your definition of success. And don't be shaken by what's happening to somebody else and let that now be take away from what you're achieving.
Definitely. At the end of the day, it should be you against you. And even then, I feel slightly odd saying that, but that's the only person you need to be comparing yourself with. Are you getting to where it is where your end goal is? Because again, it's one of those things you don't really know what's going on in other people's lives. So even if we had the same success criteria, underneath that, there's lots of other things going on. So it's not an even playing field to even think about comparing yourself to anybody else. You need to have your own, like you say, your own definition there and make sure that that's what you're comparing yourself to.
Exactly. And we've just talked about 4 things. Obviously, there's not just 4 things to do to build your resilience. And life is a marathon, and you
Hmm.
need to make sure that you've got enough in you to run that marathon race. So when you're job searching, that's a marathon. How are you making sure that you can stay right up until the end? Have you been
Yeah,
job searching for 2 months, 6 months? What is the thing? How are you going to apply these things to make sure that you keep going?
yeah,
You're at work, you've been going for that promotion, it's not happening. What are you going to do? How do you keep yourself on track so that you keep being you and keep going forward? Because if you don't go for it, then you're never going to get it. And that's what being able to persevere, keep going when it
yeah,
looks like nothing's happening or when it looks like you're stuck in the mud, how you keep going. It's like the number one thing we tell the people that come to work with us when they're trying to pivot careers or change jobs, isn't it, Alina? It's about sticking it.
it's about
How do you?
sticking. And you've got to have that self belief as well that it is going to happen. Again, a lot of this comes down to mindset, but you've got to believe you're capable, you've got to believe it's going to happen, all the planets are going to align. Sometimes things don't happen in the time scale that we want it to, but there's usually a lesson, whether we like it or not, through that journey. Like you say, it's a journey that we're going on. So
Mhm.
yeah, what do you need to do to support yourself? And I think as well, this brings in all those other things, isn't it, in terms of self-care, exercise, eating right, as well
Yeah.
as your mindset things. Make sure that all the physical things you need to do, you're also putting in place.
So we said we're going to give you 4, but we've given you a lot more things that you can do to keep building your resilience and be really active about it, not just something that you on this day. Luckily, I'm feeling resilient. No, it's something that you have to proactively do. Now, please share in the comments the go-to thing that you do to keep your resilience up. As we said, there's no gatekeeping in this community. Share and come back and see us for more.